Hello, my name is Carlos Edery and I'm the CEO of Luxury Cruise Connections. And we're here today because we have Diego Riveron, one of our amazing luxury cruise advisors here at Luxury Cruise Connections. We're going to do a one-of-a-kind interview about his most recent trip to the Arctic on the Commandant Charcot, which is one of Ponant's newest ships. To give everybody a little bit of an introduction, Ponant is a French company, relatively new to the US market, but making a big splash in the luxury market, most particularly in the expedition luxury market. And Diego, who's been with us for quite some time now and is doing an incredible job at taking care of clients and their luxury trips, just came back and experienced the Commandant Charcot personally. So we wanted to put together this interview so that you all can hear from his words about his experience and what happened on board the Commandant Charcot. So Diego, welcome.
Thank you for having me here, Carlos. And I cannot express enough my excitement of having to have sailed on the Commandant Charcot. I found it to be the most amazing cruise I've ever done, period. The ship exceeded all my expectations.
Wow. Well, that's definitely a lot to say for somebody that has traveled the world as much as you have, has experienced so much luxury cruise product as much as you have. So, let me ask you a couple of questions, and hopefully you can depict a little bit more what you felt and how that experience was like. So, why don't we start with describing the overall experience? Tell me a little bit about where did you go, how many days you spent on board, and a little bit about your first impressions and the overall experience of the itinerary.
Well, first of all, when I arrived at the pier and saw the ship from afar, I was immediately captivated by how much larger it was than I expected. Because you hear a ship that would carry just 268 passengers. You picture, I'm going to be crossing the ocean on a small vessel, but not so on the Commandant Charcot. The ship is really built to carry twice as many passengers, and it looks like a very strong, powerful vessel when you get up close. My first impressions of the ship were actually quite astounding. As I arrived at the pier, I was greeted by one of their customer service staff from the marine front desk, along with a bellboy who were ready to take my luggage onto the ship. And I was personally escorted, myself and my spouse were escorted personally onto the ship. We arrived in the lobby and the service was so personalized. I felt like I was the only one that was sailing on the ship.
Interesting, because like we said, Ponant is an expedition cruise line mainly. Obviously, going to the Arctic, you immediately think, it's an expedition trip. The Commandant Charcot particularly is an expedition ship. But when you think of expedition, you're normally not thinking about that level of luxury. Without getting too technical, how much of an expedition is the Commandant Charcot? I know that there's a different sort of, there's PC1, PC7, PC2, PC4, and that depends on the strength of the vessel, right? And how much ice it can break.
The Commandant Charcot is classified as a PC2 icebreaker. Actually, there are only 4 ships in the world, I found out, that are built as a PC2, and with the Commandant Charcot being the only passenger vessel to be classified as a PC2. And what that means is that the ship can break through winter ice.
Wow.
And it is what I was understood by the captain, that it was 10 times more powerful than the next passenger PC6 that can only break through spring ice vessel.
Imagine, so when you're talking about really going deep into an expedition and really going into places where other humans have never been, right? I think this is kind of the way to do it. And then put that together with luxury. So tell me, what type of amenities did you have? What did you experience in terms of luxury when you boarded the ship?
Well, first I got to tell you, everything about the ship is luxurious. The ship is amazing in its appointments. As I walked in, I felt a very warm ambiance. I felt like if I was in a living room at someone's mansion. The ship provided a lot of nooks and crannies and places to relax, which I found very, very comforting. The staff, no matter where you went, looked at you in the eyes and always curious and attentive and making sure that all your needs were fulfilled and satisfied. I honestly thought that the ship provided more of a glamping experience for those that want to do something adventurous in short excursions, and also visiting destinations that normally other ships won't be able to take you because of the Commandant Charcot's abilities to break through winter ice and visiting the North Pole and the South Pole. It can take you to destinations that no other ship can take you.
Yeah. Glamping, that's an interesting analogy for sure. I can totally see it. So the ship looks great, you know, the interior looks amazing, the furniture, the finishes, everything looks great. Let's dig a little bit more into the service aspect of it, because luxury, yeah, obviously you want a comfortable bed, you want, you know, nice looking space, but you know, service is what really makes a difference when it comes to luxury. So tell me about your experience.
My experience exceeded my expectations, I'm going to be honest. From the moment that I got to my stateroom and I was greeted by my attendant, everything that I ever needed at any time of the day, 24 hours a day, Ponant provides you with 24-hour room service. All attendants, all waiters, all bartenders remember your name. They even remember your drinks. If you sat at the same chair at the same time every afternoon, you never have to pick up a menu and order a drink because they already know what you like. Not only will they bring you the drink you like, they'll even bring you some other drink similar to see if you want to try something else that they think you might like. One thing I did notice about Ponant is the attention to detail. Everything from the bed linens, which I thought were the softest bed linens I've ever slept on in my life, to all the little things that they do. They basically are wanting to make sure that everything for your cruise is being taken care of, and expeditiously. You can ask for a glass of water and with a blink of an eye it's there.
But what's the maximum capacity of the Commandant Charcot?
268 guests.
And there's about that same amount of staff. It's almost a one-to-one staff
Almost a
ratio.
one-to-one staff ratio, yes.
So you feel it. Small ship, large space, so you don't feel like you're in a small ship because there's so much space to walk around.
Plenty of public spaces, that I can tell you. Plenty of public lounges. One of the things that impressed me the most, just so you know, and I have to tell you this because I really spent a lot of time there, is their indoor spa pool.
Okay.
It was amazing. It was seawater pool, and the spa indoor pool had a detox bar where you had a mixologist that created not alcoholic drinks, but they were all smoothies, fruit juices, specialty teas and coffees, everything you need to just relax and have a nice spa day in a very warm, cozy atmosphere. Remember, keep in mind, this ship is sailing in cold weather regions. So having an area like that with a covered pool where maybe you might have usually inclement weather, you know,
right.
You can still go to the pool, you can still relax. And then all the little plush amenities like the best bathrobes and slippers I've ever been given on a ship. You know, things like that to me make a difference.
I mean, it's definitely pushing the limits when it comes to an expedition experience. I mean, that's, you know, normally expedition used to be, when you thought of expedition cruises, you used to think of this, you know, old Russian icebreakers, and that was the only way to get to the polar regions at one point. And then, you know, the whole concept of luxury expedition cruising became popular in the very recent years. We're talking about the last 8 to 10 years, and just to see the evolution and where the Commandant Charcot is taking that, based on what you're telling me, I think it's pretty interesting. Definitely raising the bar. Now, we talked about Ponant being a French company. Did you feel that the experience was way too French? How was that French, you know, language, situation, or service, or you know, tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, first of all, there is a very international clientele. Particularly, I noticed that the majority of passengers were on my sailing were American, and then I would say the other 40-45% were European, mainly of French descent. Everyone on board the ship speaks English. All the announcements, all the menus, everything is bilingual, English and French. Yes, there is a French savoir-faire and the actual style of the ship. The food and the dining is definitely French forward, and I can tell you that this has been the highlight of my cruise. Me being a foodie myself, this has been by far the best cuisine I've had on a ship till this date.
I was gonna get there because, again, thinking about luxury, right?
Yeah.
It has to look good, it has to feel good, the service, but then, the cuisine is a must when it comes to the right mix for luxury.
Amazing. I enjoy the French and the European system of dining in multi-course meal. This is not a 2-course, 3-course, this is a 6 to 7 course meal. And I think the French get it right when it comes to dining because it's not just about the food. It's also about camaraderie, about having a conversation, about taking your time to savor and enjoy the finer things in life. On the ship, the one thing that strikes you the moment you walk in is just the feel of luxury. Everything from the furnishing, from the decor. You walk into the dining room and you see, all this spectacular place settings and ambiance. To me, the ship just exudes luxury.
Yeah.
The moment you step on board, because there are some luxury lines that they advertise that they're upper premium luxury. When you walk on board, you say, okay, this looks nice, but does it feel luxurious to you? On the Commandant Charcot, the moment you step on board, the first thing you say, wow, when you walk into the lobby. And the ship really made very, very good highlight, impressed me a lot.
Now, some of you might know Diego, some of you might not know Diego. I can tell you that his expectations when it comes to luxury are here. And for him to be saying that, nobody, just for the record, nobody has asked you to say anything, nobody's paid you to say anything, right?
No.
So I can tell. I can tell, and although we're recording this today, this was the exact same expression in your face as soon as you walked into the office the first day after you went on that trip. So, I'm happy that was your experience. And so, when you're going on an expedition trip, obviously, luxury is important if you're going on a luxury expedition ship, but then the expedition staff itself is really what makes the difference when it comes to the expedition experience. Did you get an opportunity to interact a little bit with the expedition staff?
I'm glad you asked, Carlos, because I did. I was invited with one of the expedition team leaders to have dinner with them, and I had an opportunity to sit down, talk to them regarding their background, their experiences. Let me tell you, these are very, very highly qualified folks that Ponant brings on board that have extreme knowledge on a certain subject regarding flora, fauna, the destination, history, culture. I was very impressed with the presentations. I attended a couple of presentations on board that provided me insight. For example, I saw one presentation that blew me away about the Arctic whales. I learned things that I have never even dreamed of about Arctic whales, but it's just the way that they go in depth into each destination, subject line, and also all about the flora and fauna wherever you're going to be visiting. And I found that to be really, really useful, and it was very immersive. I already knew about Iceland before I even got there, based on all the presentations I saw. And I thought that's really good when it comes to enrichment series on board a ship.
I also think that that's extremely important. And like I said at the beginning of the conversation, while Ponant has not been around the United States or addressing or targeting the U.S. market for so long, it has been with the European market for a long, long, long time. So they do have a staff that has been with the cruise line for a long time, delivering the most amazing expedition experiences, although not to Americans, I guess, maybe 20 years ago, or maybe so, but maybe not like as a main target market, but definitely for a very, very long time. So anybody that is going on on a Ponant expedition, right, especially on the Commandant Charcot, can probably be at ease knowing that the expedition experience is going to be at the highest level you could possibly expect. Meaning you're not sacrificing expedition experience for luxury. Do you agree?
No, 100%, 100%. One of the things that I can tell you that struck me on the cruise is that they all worked like if they were family. Being again, a smaller crew count, smaller passenger count than a large liner, you have this family feel on board, which I've really found very comforting and warm. And one of the things that I was thinking about, I said, well, I wonder if there's anything to do in the evenings. And you know what? That they exceeded my expectations again. Number one, they provided fantastic quality entertainment. I mean, there were singers. We had a wonderful violinist one night, a great harpist. We had a jazz quartet. We even had a pair of flamenco dancers. That did an amazing performance. It was little things like that that kept everyone, always looking forward to each evening. Where I was expecting, this is like another expedition cruise, where there's nothing going on, everyone goes to bed at 8 o'clock. Not so on Ponant.
Aside from lectures, I would imagine, right? There were also lectures.
Lectures were usually during the day. During the day, there were great presentations in theater, which, by the way, beautiful theater they had on board with chairs that were comforting recliners, which was fantastic. So if you didn't like the movie, you could just sit back and sleep. But again, the ship provided all sorts of entertainment, whether it be lectures during the day or musical entertainment at night, or you could be at a lounge and you would have had a nice jazz singer in a corner. Their lounges are divided up into small little living rooms, which also made it quite nice. Different ambiance in each one, and everywhere you went, there were fantastic electronic screens providing you information about everything about the ship, weather, speed, you name it. It was great to see all that everywhere you went.
Any particular event or any special occasion or anything particular that happened?
On my cruise, there were two very interesting events actually three. Two in the evening. One was they had, and I've never seen this before, they had a beluga and saruga caviar night. And those of you that know about caviar, I'm not a caviar connoisseur, but I do know that beluga and saruga are two of the most expensive caviar. They literally had a tasting one evening before dinner with champagne and with all the fixings, the blinis, the sour cream. There are two main chefs there on the table preparing them individually for you. Your plates with the salmon, the caviar. You had a choice of saruga, beluga, or both, and fresh blinis that were made there on the spot, and
nice
sour cream, and they served it to you with a fine glass of champagne.
Can any guests expect a similar sort of event in any particular, I guess any sailing on the Commandant Charcot? Is that normal?
I asked, is this something they do on every cruise? They try to provide at least a couple of culinary events prior to dinner on every 7-day sailing. The second one they had was a Bayot ham, and as if you've ever been to Spain, Bayot ham is one of the most expensive hams that's produced in Spain, and they had an evening where we were served again by the main chefs in the lounge. They prepared a table and they had what looked like an antique machine slicing paper thin Bayot ham, and I kept saying, oh my God, those slices were about at least $100 each, and they served it with I think it was like a cantaloupe gazpacho, something I've never had before. Wonderful, and a selection of magnificent red Spanish wines. So they really, try to play on the theme every evening. During the day, I was very impressed that they allow all the guests to visit the laboratory. They bring in about 14 scientists that come to actually work on the ship, and they basically are told that if guests come in, you need to drop everything and attend to the guests. and they let you see all their experiments, look into the microscopes. They'll talk to you about what they're doing regarding the destination, and I was fascinated with the laboratory. I could have spent all morning there. Then I had a chance to tour the mudrooms, where you come in off your expeditions, and then even that was plush and deluxe compared to other expedition ships. So I'll tell you, the ship, luxury from every corner, from tip to tip, and the attention to detail to me really struck a chord in my mind, honestly.
Good. And we spoke about the ship and the onboard experience, but when you're going on an expedition like this, you're out there looking for nature, some fauna, something particularly special of the region that you're going to. You went to the Arctic, right?
Yes, we sailed from Brest, France to Iceland.
Did you do you have any wildlife encounters that you want to share with us?
On this itinerary, I didn't have the opportunity to do any type of wildlife excursions since it was a crossing, but I can tell you that based on the ship was continuing on to Greenland, and I did attend all the presentations for the next destination, and I can tell you that they do all possible. And again, keep in mind that when you're on an expedition vessel, there is no set schedule. Schedules are usually set the day of, based on sightings, animal viewings, weather conditions, and passenger viewing opportunities. And they basically provide you with every option to make sure that you are going to have an adventurous trip and be able to see the local fauna and all the local sites there are to see in a specific region. They are experts in the Arctic, and they are also experts in the Antarctic, because they are sailing to places that no one will be able to go. They go deeper in Antarctica, into the Weddell Sea than anyone else. They have an interesting crossing that they do from Ushuaia all the way to New Zealand and back, which I think that's an amazing cruise. If anyone is looking for a bucket list destination to do something or visit a place that no one else has ever done before, that is an itinerary I would recommend. And they will actually take you closer up to the North Magnetic Pole in the Arctic than anyone else.
Do you have to be fit to go on one of these expeditions? I mean, is there any restriction in terms of mobility to go on these expeditions?
Like all expeditions, you should always check with your physician to make sure that, for example, you can do a Arctic plunge bath. So just be ready and prepared to make sure you have all your necessary documentation. One thing I did find out is that they will, if you want to do things like an Arctic plunge, you will need to bring an EKG report from your physician. Make sure you fill out a medical form that states that you're in good health. Remember, you're going to be in a remote part of the world.
Right. So you want to be physically
far from a hospital. You won't even be able to be close to be flown in anywhere.
Yeah.
So yes, being in a environment where you're in such solitude, we got to make sure that.
What about cell phone signal?
The ship has complimentary Wi-Fi, and it was fantastic on board. I was advised that normally when you are in these polar regions, signals can be either light or non-existent, and for the most part, non-existent.
Right. But the Wi-Fi worked well.
On board, the Wi-Fi was excellent. The Ponant always will include your Wi-Fi, gratuities, and an unlimited complimentary libations, everywhere on the ship. Even your minibar gets restocked daily. All you have to do is tell your cabin attendant what you like. They'll stock it up daily for you.
Is there any charge for any specific restaurant, or all restaurants are included?
None. I got to tell you that even the buffet, which I experienced it a few times on board, was an elegant experience.
Good to know.
And I really did enjoy the fact that on the buffet, they actually serve you. In today's post-COVID world, I think that's good.
For sure. Well, look, for those that are listening, for those that are watching, I want to say that here at Luxury Cruise Connections, expertise and product knowledge is extremely important, as much as it is teamwork. So our advisors travel all over the world. Diego happens to have traveled extensively around the world and experienced multiple different cruise lines and brands and levels of luxury. Diego clearly has a very in-depth experience on Ponant and Commandant Charcot. So if anybody's interested in learning more about it, if you don't have an advisor assigned to you at Luxury Cruise Connections, feel free to ask for Diego. If you do have somebody, feel free to ask your advisor to collaborate with Diego, because that's how we work at Luxury Cruise Connections, we work as a team. While we want to be experts at the destination, we also, most importantly, want to be experts in you, in the guest and the traveler. And I think the combination of both is what makes it so special and creates that Luxury Cruise Connections difference. Diego, thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you for having me here. I'm excited to be able to talk about the product. I came back, wanting to go back on the ship again. I think Ponant delivers a fantastic product. It's a great value for your money, and it's just the service and the quality of the experience exceeded above and beyond all my expectations. I went in with high expectations, and I came out totally blown away.
Good. Well, appreciate the opportunity to share with me and our audience about your experience. And I'm sure that if anybody reaches out, we'll be able to take care of them and make sure that we find those great opportunities to go on board the Commandant Charcot. Obviously it's a very high-end experience. It comes with its price tag, but it's worth it based on your experience.
And by the way, it is a very relaxed, casual ambience on board. No tuxedos required.
Well, if I'm going on an expedition, surely not taking my tuxedo. But I'm glad that you had the opportunity, and I'm glad that we can share that with our guests, our audience, and people that are getting to know us. Looking forward to taking care of your next expedition cruise, and hopefully next one will be on Le Commandant Charcot with Ponant. Thank you very much. See you next time.